All right, we are live here at Patty's Aquatics. This is the Waterline, where there's no filters and no lids and only real talk here in the fish room. So today I have Edgar from Edgars Fish Channel with us, and thank you very much for coming on. Really excited about this one. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not entirely versed in your channel yet. You popped up asking about coming on when I put a post asking for guests. I subscribed to your channel then, and I like what I've seen. So I guess to start off, first off, this is the first time streaming on my little laptop here, so I'm hoping everyone can hear me and see me fine. But other than that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you get in the hobby? What are you into fish wise, and get people to know kind of who you are.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks so much for having me. Super cool to join you on this live stream today. I'm Edgar from Edgars Fish Channel. I'm into all kinds of fish and aquatic creatures, I would say. Mostly fish, but also shrimp, snails, also some aquatic insects recently, which is also quite interesting. And I've been in the fish keeping hobby for almost 20 years now. I think even longer than that. So I'm almost 30. I'll turn 30 in January. And I started, I think, at the age of 6 with my dad at the time with a glass of these little fairy shrimp, if you know what I mean, these salt creatures.
Okay.
And then I never stopped keeping fish. At one point, I had, I think, 10 fish tanks when I was quite young, before starting to work and going to university and stuff. Now I only have 3 fish tanks left, but I'm getting more and more addicted to it again.
It definitely is an addictive hobby. I'll say that much.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, I'm mostly into only into freshwater fish at this point. I would love to get into saltwater one day, but it's first of all super expensive and also very complex. So I'm not a chemist or something. So it's quite difficult, but I'm mostly into freshwater and planted tanks, I would say, roughly. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think by watching some of your videos, I can definitely say that I think we have similar tastes when it comes to tanks and stuff like that. As far as the saltwater part, it's always like a pipe dream for myself too. Like someday, I'd love to get a saltwater tank. My wife mentioned it once too, but then we just kind of steered away from it because, like you said, you spend a lot of money, like not only on the fish. You see the price of fish of those, but yet the upkeep of them all too. It's just when I could do my freshwater tanks with plants and breed my own fish, it's so much cheaper and nicer.
Totally, yeah. You can basically get a tank for like 40 euros, 50 US dollars. And saltwater, it's impossible. I think it costs anything beyond 2,000 euros or like $2,500 if you want even a super small setup. So for me, it's at the moment not an option at all. But I love live bearers in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like guppies and endless live bearers are my thing, and I've kept the same strain of guppy fish for I think 15 years now. I rarely added new fish and new blood to it, and it's super interesting to see how they develop because they just keep reproducing and reproducing, and I love these guys. I even gave names to some of them. So
nice. Yeah, my interest when it comes to fish, they keep evolving, or not evolving wouldn't be the right word, changing. I was into cichlids and stuff for a while, and then I got into the live bearers as well, and that's pretty much when I got back into the planted community tanks and stuff like that. Was live bearers, the guppies and endlers, and I loved about those too because then when if you got bored with some of them, if you had a spare tank or a tub, you can mix some of them together and then you see what you get. It's just oh my gosh, look at that color. That's amazing. If you take an endler and you take a guppy, then you mix them and all of a sudden you're seeing some of the fins from the endler and color that. I find that cool too. And then try to start those lines. But that's what I usually do outside in my summer tubs a lot is I would just throw just a mix of everything I had. And I put 30 fish out there, just a mix of a couple of each. And then all of a sudden I have hundreds of them at the end of the year, which is nice. Very cool too.
And you have a lot of tanks, right? I watched multiple videos on your channel, and must be more than 10 tanks, right?
Yeah, I have nothing compared to some people, but I have probably in the 18 range. Then I got a couple totes I also use too. Wherever you can hold water is a fish tank.
Yes.
I mean, I've got a plastic tote that I use for growing out some of my fry. I've got another plastic toque I use just for raising shrimp and some plants, and just for the hell of it. Jars. I've had jars. I've used jars. I've used the fish bowls. I mean, speaking of fish bowls, I want to talk about your video at some point in this live stream. But yeah, so yeah, wherever you can hold water, I have a small space here where my fish tanks are as well. So it's sort of like you got to maximize the space as much as you can, And that's like why I got these racks here. It's like, okay, I'm going to build on top of each other. It's going to give me more. And then, oh, hey, I can fit a little tiny tank.
Yeah. I didn't even see it before because you had one of it.
I've got my totes down underneath there with lights. So wherever you can maximize space, that's what you do.
Nice. Super cool. I can also show you quickly my tanks. I only have like very few tanks, as I mentioned. This is my main tank here, the community tank that I post most of the videos about. And then this is like my small fish room. But as you can see, this heavy duty shelf is still quite empty. Here I'm trying to breed some Neocaridina shrimp.
Nice.
And here's my little bowl, this insect bowl that I posted a video about like 1.5 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And if you just look at it with your eyes, you don't see anything. But if you zoom in with the camera, it's amazing. It's like an own microcosmos.
Absolutely. Now that's something that was actually the first video I've seen of yours, and then I started watching more. Because like I said, I was into that too. Like I would go down to a local river and I would just scoop up jars. And I made the mistake of adding some of them to my tanks at one point some years ago. And I wound up, not years ago, but like a year and a half ago, I wound up getting infested with planaria worm and stuff like that. So I don't do that anymore. I don't think it's safe. My own opinion, there's people that do it and that's completely fine. But I enjoy just I had a little 2.5 gallon tank that I put that stuff in, just full of little aquatic isopods and copeds and every little thing like moving around. It's just it was so cool, especially with all those copeds, the isopods. I had like leaf litter at the bottom of that, and you could just see the leaf litter moving. It was alive from all the isopods moving around and stuff like that. And then what I seen with yours, now you had some things that transform into flying insects after.
Yes. Which got me into a lot of trouble with my wife actually when she saw the video. That was not planned. I got some dragonfly nymphs in there. At least one, a giant one, is like this. This is also one of the few animals you can see with your eyes in there. And then I also got many mayfly nymphs. So we call them Eintagsfliegen in German because they only live like 1 or 2 days when they breed, and the rest of their life is totally submerged underwater. And when you zoom in and have a look at them very, very close up, they just look like from a horror movie, crazy. And I just filmed a video today. I will post it later, like probably next Friday. And I also saw a little scud. It's like, I think, closely related to isopods as well, but they have like a round back, I would say. And it wasn't there in the first 2 or 3 weeks, so I guess there was maybe some eggs or something in there. And this was actually the reason why I got this glass. I wanted to cultivate scuds to feed them to my fish later on, because I know that they live in the rivers in Germany, a lot of scuds, and also aquatic isopods, but I've never seen them in the wild so far, but scuds for sure. And yeah, that was the original goal, and now I saw one, so I'm super excited to cultivate them maybe.
Yeah, that 2.5 gallon tank I had with all those isopods, I actually did see 1 or 2 scuds. Like, I didn't see them right away either. It was like when you just sit there, I think it's pretty much like any other tank, but you can get a little mesmerized because you know it's something you're grabbing out of nature and just kind of looking, and also like, whoa, hey, wait a minute, that was a scud. Then you see all the stuff. Like to this day, I emptied it out because I'm using it as a grow up tank now for some rice fish fry. But there are still some, I don't know what they're called anymore. They're like little freaking like snail things, but they're not actual snails, I guess. Gosh, I can't remember what they're called. But they're cool because they help clean your glass and stuff like that too. Oh. But that's the little organisms that you brought in. It's like, oh, okay, it's kind of cool still looking at it.
Yeah, that I totally agree, and that's what you don't get when you just put stuff from the aquarium store in it. But there's also always the risk of some infestation, like planaria worms or something. Yeah. So I also watched many father fish videos, as probably everyone in the freshwater hobby, and I mean, I've never, like, I wanted to put some part of the jar into my actual tank, but then I didn't do it because I thought maybe it will hurt the fish. So I haven't done it yet. Maybe I will do it with some tank that I set up new, but with the big tank with all of the fish in there, I won't do it.
See, I'll say this. I did the resurrection jar things for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. Some of them I observed for well over a month, almost 2 months. Didn't see any planaria, anything like that in there. I'd put them in my tanks. I wound up getting planaria in just about every single tank that I put them in.
Okay.
Do I think most people who put those things in their tanks are probably going to be fine? Probably, but there is always that risk. You don't know what body of water you're pulling them from. If you're absolutely familiar and you water tests and all this type of stuff, you could probably be a little more familiar, but probably 90% of the people that are pulling these things out of the wild really don't have any of that knowledge in their hand, and they're just going to randomly dump it in their tanks like I did. And you're just asking for trouble, in my opinion. If you're doing it like a spare little tank, or you're like your little bowl or something like that, I mean, I'm all for that. But me, myself, I would never do that again, pour it into my tanks, because you just don't know what you're introducing. And that's my biggest thing. Yeah. Like I said, majority of the time, yes, people are probably going to be fine. But when you're spending a lot of money on these fish and everything, do you really want to take that risk? Unless it's like a tank you really don't care about. But for me,
yeah, exactly. And also these fish, they were bred in captivity most of the time, at least in Germany. When you buy them here in a fish store, they probably have never been close to any of these other animals, other pests, whatever. So probably it's also like a shock to them if you introduce like planaria worms or whatever to them, because they come from such like how to say managed environments. So it's also a big risk in that regard. What I wanted to know is how you got into aquariums.
I will tell you that in a second. I just want to point this comment out by Beto. He never got planaria, but he waited well over a month to pour small amounts of time in. And that's the other thing, that when I first started this too, the way that it was described and told how to do it has changed so much. When I first got into this, when I watched Father Fish, he was told to take a handful of gunk from the bottom of a lake or river and you throw it into a jar. And I did that, and I wound up pouring it in, and then it's changed and changed after. So, yeah. So I'm sure there's safer ways to probably do it. I personally, it's just not my cup of tea anymore. But anyway, how did I get into the hobby? Let's see. I was probably 19. I'm going to be 51.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I'm old.
But you were younger.
Wait, no. I was probably 19. I've always loved fish. I always have. I've always loved the aquatic part of it. I remember as a kid, I'd be down when we had a local lake. I would just lay on the pier and just put my face down into the water and just watch things. I always enjoy that. So when I got to be about 19, I got my first tank. It was a 29-gallon. I got a piranha and blue gravel, plastic plants, and it really wasn't a killer. I wanted a fish that was gonna be like,
well, you got that, I guess.
Yeah, but it really didn't do nothing. I threw like a red tail, those little red tail sharks or whatever those things were in with it, and they lived fine. But it was like I was like, I'm bored. I want something more. So that's like, when we get into this hobby, it's the multiple tank syndrome. So then I got a 55-gallon, and then I bought 3 more piranha. And I got small ones, grew them as little babies up, and they were ferocious. I started feeding them like goldfish and stuff like that all the time. And,
that's crazy.
And that wasn't enough, so then I got another 55-gallon, and then with that one, I kind of like moved around. I had some like gars. I had fire eels in there at one point.
Gars, but gars are
these are the little ones. I don't know what the actual names of they were, because when I was in the hobby then, there wasn't as much information like my local fish store of what you're buying. I think it said a needle nose gar. Now I don't know. They didn't get any bigger than probably like 4 or 5 inches, so it wasn't like the big gars. And I'd feed them. Only thing they would eat was live fish or live sources. So I'd have to go get. They had feeder guppies at the time at the store, and they had feeder ghost shrimp. So I would feed that with them, and then the fire eels that were in there. And then my brother he had a fish tank as well, and he bought a little community fish. At least that's what they told him. It's about this big. It ate every fish in his tank, and he's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Well, do you know me at all?" So yes, so I grabbed it and put it in there, and it wound up being a snakehead. And
Ooh, nice.
it grew probably a good 13 inches. That thing is the most ferocious fish I've ever had in my life. I would buy like 30 goldfish a week, and I'd throw it in there, and he'd put like 8 to 10 of them in his mouth at once. They'd be sticking out everywhere.
Oh my god.
And I had to tape the lid shut.
Poor goldfish.
Yeah, well, I know. I had to tape the lid shut. So I'd wake up in the morning sometimes and my lid's open, like glass lid open.
Okay.
What? So yeah. So after that, my tastes kind of changed. I went to the South African cichlids, like the Jack Dempsey's, the firemouths. Did that. Then went to a community tank. Never really did that before. I failed miserably. See, at that time, this was all pre-YouTube for me. I think it was probably pre-YouTube in general. And the only information you could find as a hobbyist back then really was books, magazines. If you had a local fish store that had someone with some knowledge there, if you had any local clubs, none of that. Otherwise, you're just, let's see what happens, So I failed miserably at that. A lot of the fish died. Then I kind of gave up the hobby for a few years and got back into it. And that's when I got into live plants, and I started watching Aquarium Co-op and really seeing how to hot rod things, how to do things more easy and more efficiently. And it's ever since then, it's just been, then I got in the dirty tanks for a while. I did that for probably, I still have one up that's a little over 5 years. This one's a dirty tank, this little one yet. Otherwise, I switched them back over all to inert substrates with either gravel, sand, or gravel sand mixes, all planted tanks though. But I don't know, I just love the hobby.
But without a dirt layer on below the sand then?
No, those are just regular sand or regular dirt sand now. But I do, like I said, I have one tank that's, it's a little over 5 years old. It's my first dirty tank. I'm not tearing that one down. It's doing great. And this little 2.5 gallon I set up probably, I think that was in December or something like that. I was like, it's doing fine. We'll let that one up and stay going that way. So, but yeah, live plants was, Beto just said in here, live plants are a game changer. They changed the game for better. They absolutely do. I was always afraid of live plants. I don't know about you. When I first seen them, I'm like, well, plastic plants just seem so much easier. But then when I started watching Aquarium Co-op, and I had a buddy at work that had a live planted tank, and I was like, I want to try this. So I ordered some plants from the co-op, and I still have some of their seed or their brethren still in my tanks today. Some dwarf sage I got, Pogostemon stellatus octopus, and the Nubius, which the Nubius is in a lot of my tanks. It's all from that same little one I got about I don't even know how many years ago that was, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, when I got into the hobby, I think my first actual tank that was not just like little crustaceans or something, but I think I had guppy fish and platy fish. So both live bearers and some bristlenose plecos and all of that kind of stuff that my dad got me. Half of them died right away because I was a child and didn't know anything. But I had plants in there right away, but almost all of them died because there was just like maybe half an inch or even quarter an inch, just like rocks down below, and no one at the pet store could tell you, because this pet store wasn't that good where I got it in my hometown back then, or the fish store wasn't that good. And no one could tell you how to actually care for plants. They just want to upsell you like all of these chemicals, and they want to give you stuff against algae, but then also give you fertilizers that you should put, like liquid fertilizers, and that you don't realize if you are like a newbie to the hobby that both work against each other. If you put both in, you need to buy more of both all the time. But it took me some years, and I also have some cryptocorines that I still have from back then. And I think they survived now, not the original ones, of course, but their offspring, basically. The same strain survived for like 20 years now, at least. And I got them from another friend that kept them before, who also gave me like a catfish, one of these. I don't know how they are called in English. In German, they are called Congo catfish, Congo whales. Yeah. They always swim on their back. Maybe you know what I mean.
Oh, like the upside down catfish. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's the right name. And I put it into my guppy tank, and after some months I didn't have any guppy fish left. But then I got some cichlids, some African cichlids from the Malawi lake, and they were mouth breeders. I think they were called pseudotrophois in Latin. And but those just require a giant tank, like at least I would say 50, 60 gallon if you want to have a larger group of those. And since I can only have one large tank in my flat at the moment, and I will stay with the planted community tank. But actually, and this is something that I never saw on the internet, these cichlids I kept with my cryptocorines. And this was quite interesting because the cryptocorines were so strong and regrew so fast that the cichlids couldn't keep up eating them and digging them up from the soil. So this was quite interesting, and I've never seen someone keeping Malawi cichlids with like actual plants other than Anubias plants, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's the cool thing of this hobby too, is to be able to experiment and try things. And even if you're not trying, but like I got an Oscar that I had in a dirted planted tank. It thrived. I wound up taking the dirt out of that one only because I was having issues with my nutrient level. My plants just weren't growing anymore, and put in just inert substrate. But he loves the plants. Like I said, it's just a matter of like finding the right recipe for things to work. Like for me, I knew with that Oscar, my opinion, the best way for me to succeed with it would be to get the fish very small, so it's used to plants right from the beginning, and then plus I didn't want it to dig. So at that time I put egg crate in the substrate above the dirt layer. So if it did decide to dig, it wasn't going to reach that dirt layer. But yeah, I mean, that's a fun part, throw things in there. And like, you always hear, you can't do this, you can't do that. These fish aren't going to do this. They're going to kill. Who says they can't? Maybe they're right. And a lot of times it could be possibly true, but I'm one of those people that I want to see things with my own two eyes to say, hey, this is going to work or it's not.
Yeah, totally. Like, agree. So maybe also what would be interesting for me to hear is what kind of fish are you currently keeping? Then I think you are mostly keeping rather small fish and community friendly fish.
For the most part, I have my Oscar tank yet, and then I have a Fahaka puffer. Those are my two big ones. And then, and then I have an axolotl in this tank over here. That's for my daughter. But someday when the axolotl, it's an adult one, decides to leave us, this is going to be my river tank, so I can put my shiners and white clouds and stuff in there. So I have rainbow shiners. I've got different species of white clouds, rice fish. I've got white clouds, gold white clouds. That's a community tank. It's got some rams and some platies and a beta. I've got crebensis pair that are breeding, CPDs which are breeding.
Nice. I also want to get some CPDs actually.
God, those are fun. They're so skittish. I got them. When was it? That was in February at a fish swap. I got 12 of them. They hide all the time, but I want to breed them, and I currently trying that in a little setup right now. But in their main tank, when I set that up, my idea was from what I hear, they want to eat the eggs and fry, so you don't really have much luck breeding them in their own tank. So I put just gravel in that tank. So my hope was that if they're going to breed, maybe some of those eggs will fall between the rocks where they can't get at them, and maybe some fry will hatch. And I didn't really think anything of it till about like 2 months ago, I think it was. All of a sudden I was down in my fish room and looking at the tank, and I'm seeing things swimming real small up in the corner. I'm like, oh, it's fry. So I find one or two every probably once or twice a week. And then I take a little siphon and I just start a siphon and I siphon them into a tank below. And then I move them to another tank I just escaped. But I've got probably like 12 babies right now from just that. At first I had 6 to begin with in there, and I was like, well, we'll leave them over because there were some different sizes. So a couple of them have been in there for a little bit. But I was like, well, I'll just leave them in there overnight and we'll see if this works. I came in back the next day and like 3 of them were missing. So I'm like, okay, let's get them out of here now. So, but yeah, I'm trying to breed them in another setup right now. I'm hoping I'm going to get a big batch, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I absolutely love them. They're so colorful. Like I said, they're very skittish right now, but I'm hoping the tank I have them in, I have a bunch of crypts, and they all melted the crap when I put them in there. So they're not dead, but they're slowly coming back. So once that tank does fill up, it'll be lots of cover, and I think it'll be a little better then. But yeah, they're really cool fish.
Super cool. Yeah, it's like it's a whole different kind of hobby to breed fish that lay eggs versus live bearers. Like live bearers, everyone can do it. And with egg laying fish, I really had my difficulties. The only ones that I recently bred were Neocaridina shrimp. If you want to count those into egg laying, I mean, they have eggs in the end, and are a little more difficult to breed compared to guppy fish. Like guppies breed right away when you put them in a tank, right?
Sure.
And in the past, I had like the pseudotrophois, the Malawi cichlids that bred frequently, was super cool. But they also have like, they care a lot for their offspring, right? They are mouth breeders. They are super territorial once they're young hatch. So these are relatively easy, but with like I have Ember Tetras at the moment. I think those are egg laying ones, and I think it will never be successful in my community tank that I have at the moment, because there's also like coolie loaches and some catfish in there and all that kind of animals, also assassin snails, and all of those animals will just eat the eggs when they lay around. So have you ever bred some fish that lays eggs in a community tank? Is that even possible?
More by accident. Like, yeah, I had rainbows, Basami or Basam, whatever they're called, rainbows, and they're in a community tank, and I happened to see like one or two fry, and I had assumed that was them, and then but yeah, other than that, no. It's very it would be whatever fish that winds up surviving would have to have extreme luck on their side, because the amount of fish that are in there that would eat them. Yeah, you're pretty much, your best bet is to pull fish out into another breeding setup to try to breed them, and then put them back in would be my guess. But yeah, like I said, I bred all kinds of different. Like that's the thing with the live bearers too. Like I wanted to challenge myself. Not that challenging is really for the live bearers, but it's more fun of it. But then I wanted to challenge myself with the egg scatterers and the egg laying fish. That's why I got into the CPDs and the white clouds, and the shiners are something I'm going to be trying yet too. Like the white clouds, I always heard like, oh, it's the easiest fish to breed. I'm like, you know how long I've been trying to breed these stinking things, and I would get like one or two or three. I would never get a batch. It wasn't until I did this new setup I had, which the video was out this weekend, with my gold white clouds, and boom, I had a whole freaking tank full of fry. I'm like,
nice.
Okay, I think I finally figured it out. So that's why I got my CPDs in right now to see if I can get them to breed into there. I had some.
And so just to understand, because I also want to breed some fish in the future that are egg laying. So you just put like thicker gravel in there, or like
the breeding tank?
Yes.
Their main tank or the breeding tank?
The breeding tank.
Breeding tank. I got the video out. What I did is I got a 5-gallon bare bottom tank, and I cut a piece of egg crate to fit the size of the bottom, and then I bought some mesh, like small hold mesh. And I put over that egg crate, because my holes of the egg crate are too big. The fish can swim underneath it. So I put that mesh on it. Then I put that into the tank at the bottom. And then what I did was I got the acrylic yarn, and I made like a spawning mop that I do for my regular spawning mop.
I saw this video. I saw the video.
Then I tied it to a rock, and I put it to the bottom, so otherwise it's going to float. And then I put the fish in there with an air stone, and I put them in there for like 3 days. Then pulled them out, and probably like a week later, all of a sudden, boom, I had just fry everywhere. It was actually amazing, because I saw like one or two scattering around a few days in. And I'm like, okay, so it wasn't a complete failure, because I was sort of like, I never breed these things. I have never have any luck. It's just going to be a failure again. And then I found a couple of them. So I'm like, okay, whatever, at least I didn't fail completely. And the next day I came home from work, and I looked down, and I saw like 5 of them. So I'm like, all right, that's all right. It's acceptable. But then there was a light up there, so it kind of was shining. I couldn't see. Then I looked down, and no, there was a swarm of them. I'm like,
nice. Nice. And I also asked under the video in the comment section why you put the yarn in there. Like, is there any specific use for the yarn?
In that breeding setup?
Yes.
It was basically for a material for them to breeding, because I know like in the tanks they'll go down into like Java moss or into plants, and they'll kind of, the male and female will do their little thing inside of there. So I gave them some type of material for them to go down and do that. Like I got my CPTs right down in there right now, and you can see the fish. They're like interweaving within there, and it gives them some kind of security to be able, I think, breed within them. So so then by doing that as well in this little setup, then all the eggs will fall down potentially through those holes underneath that egg crate where they can't get at them. And then when you pull those fish out, obviously those eggs should all be down there, and then you just wait for them to hatch.
Nice. I think I got my next project that I want to try. Super cool.
I've tried it before with this egg crate, but the holes are too big, like I said. So what I would do is I put rock over the top of it. But those stupid white clouds, they would still find a way. And I'd be down there in my tank, and I'd see they're underneath the egg crate. I'm like, tearing the thing apart to get out. I'm like, no.
Super cool. Are you into crayfish at all?
Not so much. I was getting some to feed to my puffer from the local waterways about a year ago, and I'd medicate them, but then I found out that was a no-no and it was illegal, so I stopped doing that.
Okay. Are they endangered?
Well, no, these are invasive in my area here, and I someone told me that you're not supposed to feed live crayfish from the wild. Once you put them in your aquarium, it's a no-no, and I decided not to do that no more since I'm putting it on video, and someone might not like me and decide to say something.
Say something or sue you or something. I mean, in Germany, it would be quite common because people are sometimes a little annoying here. Like once I got sued because I fed the ducks on the local river with just some bread, and the guys that like I did not get sued, but they were the police officers. And they said, yeah, this costs 35 euros now because you fed the ducks. And I asked them why. They said because their stomach might explode due to the bread that I fed them. And I said, guys, I studied biology. I think this is not possible, but okay, I will pay the 35 euros and stop feeding the ducks. It's just sometimes bureaucrats, here in Germany at least, are a little crazy. Also, I got 1 or 2 comments under my video about where I collected all of these insects in the Neckar River here. Whether that is legal, and I'm already afraid that these people will sue me now. But whatever.
I always found it I was always when I went down to collect my stuff. I mean, I collected crayfish and that stuff down in the same area. I would collect my stuff from my jar, and I go down there and a couple buckets and full of jars and walk down, and then coming out, and people are walking the trails, and they're like, what is he doing? I'd go down there to collect leaves and everything too, because I knew there was nowhere, just in the woods. It was nowhere around anything that would have pesticides or anything like that on. So, but yeah, as far as the legality of it all, I don't know. I never really thought of that, to be honest with you. I did know I was going to set up a tank last summer. The one my Oscar one is in, I initially wasn't going to be an Oscar tank. I wanted to make it more of a native tank from around here in Wisconsin, where I live in the United States. But I called the DNR because I wanted to pull plants from some local waterways. And I figured it probably wasn't legal, but I wanted to talk to someone to find out. So I actually talked to one of the heads of the DNR as far as the plant, aquatic plants go. And they told me, technically, no, it's not legal to pull plants out of there. I told them what I wanted it for. She said, if you take a bucket full of plants, a 5-gallon bucket full of plants, no one's going to say anything. It's different if you're going to pull a crap ton out. It's going to make you go in front of someone's property on their cottage and you're pulling all the plants. Yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, to go pull a few out, it's not a big deal. But she's like, any of the invasive stuff you want to pull out all you want. She's like, but don't put the stuff back into the lakes after you've had them in your tanks. And I wound up not going that route because I think I just never got around to collecting the plants, and I didn't know exactly how I wanted to do it. So that's why I went the Oscar route instead.
That's why I do all of these kind of adventurous trips super early in the morning. I get up Saturday at 5:30 in the morning, and then I just go to the lake and no one is there. Even in summer, no one is there. And even fishermen, they usually don't care. But if you get anything larger than a crayfish or a small fish, then I think in Germany, at least, you would already require a fishing license.
Oh, okay.
And then they could also again sue you for that. And in Germany, it's all very, very bureaucratic. So you need to be very, very careful, even where you park and stuff. It's a bit annoying from time to time. I think for you guys over there in the US, it's a bit easy, more easy going.
It's a little more relaxed when it comes to that stuff for sure.
Yeah. But you mentioned invasive species. This is also quite interesting. We have many North American crayfish here that brought some pests with them that our crayfish couldn't deal with. Now they are almost extinct in my area, and there's only American crayfish here now, where there were a lot of U.S. soldiers were stationed here in local military bases 50 years ago, and I think they just kept them or ate them or whatever, and some of them left. and now they reproduce like crazy. And we also have we have koi fish here in the wild. We have nutria, it's a giant water rats that are originally from South America, and also the sunfish. It's like a little bass kind of fish. They are in every lake, and it's getting more and more crazy with all of these invasive species in Germany. I don't know how it is in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, it's not so bad because we get pretty heavy winters here that a lot of those type of fish would wind up like dying off in the winter. It's more like the crayfish and like some plants and stuff like that. Now, if you go down south more in the United States, like in Florida and things like that nature, that's a completely different thing. You see videos of people in just creeks and ponds and finding jaguar cichlids and like the snakeheads and all this stuff that wouldn't typically be there to begin with that were released. So and then they wind up all breeding and killing off, and it just it's crazy. Like pacus,
crazy.
Oh gosh, yeah, just all this big stuff you'll see in these lakes and stuff like that. Like it's like love hate. Like I would love to live down there to go find stuff like that, but I get the bad and how it's really not good exactly for the environment and killing off like an overeating and taking away stuff for the actual people or inhabitants that are in those bodies of water. So
yeah, it messes up the whole balance of the ecosystem that has established through like thousands or even millions of years. I assume in Germany we have something similar, but also we have relatively cold winters. They are getting less and less cold over the last like 20 years, but they are still relatively cold. But we have like in one or two places power plants where they have exhaust waters, and there's relatively warm rivers, and especially from spring until like fall, I would say it's warm enough for exotic fish to live there. And so we just call it the guppy river because people keep releasing guppies there, and sometimes they live throughout the winter. And you have guppy fish, you have cichlids there, you have huge mollies, and they go back to their wild form sometimes. Even they get bigger, they get less colorful, and they just live there right in the middle of Germany until like a relatively cold winter comes, and then they are all wiped out. But then some crazy hobbyist comes back and just releases some again. I think maybe to collect them later in the year and then sell them to the fish stores. I don't know, but it's quite crazy how easy that goes for nature sometimes. I think
you're speaking of that river with the guppies. That makes me wonder. I seen a video some years ago with Corey from Aquarium Co-op where he's in Germany with is that Chris Lupa? I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
Yes, they were at some little river area where there is just guppies everywhere.
Yeah. This is the Guppy River, the
nice.
Guppibach in German, so Guppy River. Yeah, and I think I saw the video as well, and also many German fish YouTubers. I mean, fish YouTube is not as big as in Germany as it is in the US, I think, but still, all of them went there, and I also want to go there at one point, but. Man, with all of the aquariums and all of the video editing and stuff, it's quite already time intensive to do that when you are working full time, right? And I can't even imagine how it is when you also have kids. I think you have kids, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's even more like time demanding, I would say. So yeah.
I gotta show this. Select pets. If you all want to try egg layers, and egg layers are hard, try, I can't pronounce that Latin name, but convict cichlids. Yes, they are the easiest fish probably to breed ever. You put a male and a female together in an aquarium, you are going to have babies. They were actually the first, I think, they were the first egg laying fish I ever bred, not on purpose. I had the Oscar some years ago. And I wanted something else in there with it. This was before I knew really what I was doing as well as far as compatibility with other fish. I had got another Oscar. It didn't work out. I returned it to the store, and there was two convicts. I'm like, oh, these look cool. I threw them in there. They started breeding, beat the crap out of my Oscar. So I had to pull them out of that tank and wound up getting so many convict cichlids back in that time. They're a cichlids that breed like crazy. I have crebensis as well. Those things too, like I've heard they're kind of similar to convicts. I have two of them together. I think they're on their third batch of babies now, and I've had them probably like 2 months tops. So yeah.
I gotta Google quickly convict cichlid.
Oh yeah,
But they get relatively huge, right? They look like they get
they get
pretty.
like maybe like no, they don't get monstrous. Like the male probably gets maybe 4 inches, five
Okay.
tops, and then the females are a little smaller. They've got like a bluish color to it with the black stripes, and then the females will get like a red belly, especially when they're starting to get in that breeding mode.
Are they South Americans
I
or
believe so. They're South American or Central or something like that down
they're
there.
usually these are a little like more community friendly, I would say, like the angelfish. I think discus are also from South America,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
And if you look at anything from Africa, these these fish are just crazy. They eat everything.
Yeah, I mean, angelfish you could put more in a community tank. Convicts, I mean, if it's all a cichlid community tank,
Mhm.
maybe. I've tried it every single time I put convicts in a community tank with other cichlids. They always wind up breeding with other ones, and then I have babies all the time, and it just starts aggression, and then it's just like, rah. I had it once where I was like, okay, I want to put all. I think I put all females. Or I thought I put all females up in a tank. It was convicts, firemouths. I think it was the Salvini, and I was like, okay, nothing's gonna breed. I can just enjoy the fish. Then all of a sudden, I saw two of them sitting in the middle guarding something. It was a convict and a firemouth. There must have been a male in there because it must have impregnated both of them because they both had their own little nest right next to each other. And I
Okay,
had big
okay.
batches of fry. It was crazy.
Or maybe they still like some of the fish can get like impregnated once and then give birth to multiple generations. Like guppy fish can do that.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure.
know if that I don't think that works with these guys because usually the female will lay the eggs and then the male will come and fertilize them.
True,
So
true. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
my guess is you had one male that decided he liked two of the females and they decided to make the nest right next to each other and it was a little menage a trois. I don't know.
Crazy. But there's all kinds of weird things when it comes to like how to say genders in fish because they can also switch genders from time to time. Some of them are hermaphrodites, and I think like the most common example is the clownfish, like where there's the strongest like all of them are I think males, and the strongest one turns female at one point and then gets bigger, and then it gets impregnated by the males, or the other way around. I don't know which way it was, but it's quite interesting, like how completely different it is from humans or from like any kind of mammal or stuff.
Yeah, I honestly I had a swordtail. Okay, it was a
Mhm.
runt. It was deformed. It had a deformed tail. I had the other
Mhm.
ones. It stayed so small. I got rid of the other ones, but I kept that one. It would have been a cull, but I was like, I'm not culling fish. I liked it, so I kept it in a little 5-gallon tank with a beta, and I kind of forgot about it for a while. I just feed it. I never really looked at it because it was on a lower rack, and then I put it in this community tank, and it was supposed to be a female, and it
Mhm.
always was. It had the female fin. I threw it in this tank, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's not a female no more. It's
Yeah.
got male fin. It's got the point started and it's bigger now. It's more slender. It's not. I'm like, either it took a long time for it to, because it was a dwarf maybe and sex out to actually grow to maturity to show those characteristics, or it changed sex. I don't know how that works, but
Maybe it does work for swordtails. I'm not 100% sure, but
I don't know either. I'm just like, I was like, 'cause I told my daughter because she was like, they said the guppy or the beta and the swordtail were like they're together, they're married. She would say whatever. She said I didn't care where I put them as long as I put them together and I put them in there. I'm like, that's not.
so are your children into fish keeping as well already?
My daughter, she likes it. This is pretty much her axolotl. She's huge into axolotls for some reason. I don't know how she got into it. When I started to get into the YouTube thing, she started watching like a couple channels with axolotls and really got into that.
Cool.
But she used to come down here all the time and help me feed the fish. Now she's getting a little more older, but she's only like going on 9. But she's to the point where it's like it's cool, but it's just like she wants to come down here and go on her tablet or play. I'm like, nah, I don't, no. If you want to come down here and help out and do stuff, that's fine. But so yeah, I don't know. She's got a little interest into it. I think she'll be more, but she loves the axolotl though. So whenever she's down here, I'm like, feed your fish, feed your fish.
I mean, I kind of understand it. Axolotls are quite interesting. Like, I think, as I understood correctly, they live in their whole life in this larvae stage, right? where they don't metamorphosize into like the actual salamander that they are supposed to be. And that's quite weird. And I even saw on YouTube some scientists who put the, I think, hormones in, where they actually turn into the salamanders, and then they look just like giant salamanders, and it looks super strange.
Yeah.
And I think also you can cut off like their limbs or their gills or their eyes, and everything regrows, right?
Yeah, regenerate. Yeah, my daughter knows so many facts about it. She's just like, you can do this and this and this, but I'm like, holy crap. Like, I didn't want it. She wanted it, so I was like, fine. That's what I got this tank specifically for. Then I was kind of hoping she'd forget about it. Because like I said, I want it. Eventually it's going to be my river tank, but as long as that axolotl's around, that's going to be his tank.
I'll also quickly get something to drink. I'll be back in 5 seconds.
While you're gone, Mike, I did see this. He has a stream coming up October 19 with Ed Moats, Mitchell Broom, and Greg Sage will be on the panel. Breeders Overload. Absolutely. I saw your schedule for that, and I'm excited to watch that one. Let's see. Beto up here did ask you a question. Let's see if I can get it up. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where did it go? There we go. That's the one I wanted. Do you have any special interest in the hobby?
Well, everything. Like, difficult to answer this question. I would say I don't have a special interest. I'm interested in all kinds of fish and animals, but my long-term goal for my channel is, when I together with my wife move into like an actual house with a garden, I want to get like a huge pond and put a greenhouse over it, so it's warm throughout the whole year. And then I want to get cichlids in there, Malawi cichlids, and I want to build an actual food web in there. This is my goal. But like, I want to have guppy fish that live in the top layer, and I know everyone's going to say it's impossible. They will eat all of the guppies, but I think if you have a certain amount of water, like maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 gallons or something, like an actual pond, I think it should be possible. And this would be really cool. Like a super small food web in a small aquarium is already interesting, but building everything from scratch and then filming everything with the GoPro underwater, this would be like a dream. But so expensive, so still will take years until I get there.
And I think so. This is the thing too with like the food webs in like even our aquariums. I feel like the information out there is you want to add these to your tanks and you're going to automatically build a food web. I think really if you want to be successful, like especially with like the jar stuff I'm talking about, so you want to probably set that type of stuff up well ahead of time and really let that culture and go for, I'm talking probably close to a year, so they really take off, and then start adding fish, because otherwise they're just going to pick stuff up. But if you're talking like cichlids and guppies, that's an interesting idea, and that is something I thought about once before too. If you could have some type of a tank that can pretty much, yes, they're going to pick off guppies, and you probably want them to a little bit here and there because that's going to be a food source for them, but you don't want them to do obviously all of them. So it'd be kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. I like that idea.
And I thought it through quite a lot. I feel like I don't have any hobby because I'm only thinking about this kind of stuff, but it's a hobby, right?
That's all I hear too.
Like if you build a pond like this shape, if you look at it from the side, and then have like a very shallow area where the cichlids cannot swim, but only the guppy can swim. Yeah. Occasionally they will flow or swim into the deeper water. That's what I thought. That's usually also how you build ponds. Like I built I think 2 ponds, one for myself and one for a friend in the past. And this is also how we build the ponds, like with a shallower area where you just can put then some pond plants and stuff. But this is also the area where usually the goldfish fry and the koi fry, where they hatch and where they are not eaten by the goldfish or the koi. And this was sort of like the idea. And maybe I will also use some other fish, not guppy fish or cichlids, but I think it's quite a cool idea, and would be super nice to document it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd definitely be signed up to watch that from you. Definitely have some type of hiding areas for. I almost think of it as our normal aquariums. If you want to have shrimp to survive in tanks with like some not bigger fish, but some ones that could eat them, having places for them to hide, having places for them to go into cover where they can get away from them to be eaten, I think is obviously a great idea as well.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And maybe also special interest. What I also love is like all of this kind of paludariums. It's a little difficult to keep at home because you need also, again, quite a lot of space, but anything that includes water and land is also super interesting. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just love it.
They're cool. I've never really done any of that. I think that would be a definitely cool idea. I just don't have the room. My room down here is probably 10 feet by probably like 8 feet. And like I said, I maximize as much as I can. That's why I've got like totes and stuff on the floor underneath racks, and my Oscar tank rack. I got the Oscar tank, and then I got a rack above. That's originally where I was going to put my 55 gallon, but then it was just too high up there to work on. So then I wound up putting it right here. I'm like, hey, I got room underneath for more. And one day, well, I'm not going to build above that one, but my other one on my wall here, I could build above. My puffer tank on this wall over here, I don't have anything above it, but I could build above that one. I'm thinking about putting a shelf right now, but we'll see. Like I said, I always have ideas of expanding and adding, and what can I do to put more tanks in here? But then I can't say this out loud to my wife.
Same here. She's in the next room, so
it's like there's no more tanks. Mm-hmm.
I know that very well. Yeah, this is also like the problem for me. I would have space for more tanks, but I'm a little worried about the statics of my flat here, because if I get another, like, what is it, 50 gallons, 60 gallons, it's already half a ton that is here.
Yeah.
And the way I could place it would be in the middle of the room, basically. And I live in the 5th floor of like an old building, and I don't want one day that the whole ceiling crashes down. I think it's probably a little over exaggerated, but I mean, it's a lot of weight, and if you then have a lot of people, I don't want anything to break.
No, that's a completely different situation. Obviously, yeah, I'm in the basement of my house, so the only thing underneath me is earth. So,
Perfect. Yeah, and it's probably your house. I'm also living in a rental flat here, so.
Oh yeah, that's a completely different situation, and I get it. I had my puffer tank upstairs in my dining room for quite a while. My floors up there are like old hardwood, and they move around like when everything's bouncy. So I had that tank up there, and when the kids be playing and jumping around, or even the dog running around, you could see, the water. Like I'm like, like stop. Like, stop running. like she's just trying to play. I'm like, my tank. You're going to be mad at 75 gallons of water pour all over the floor. So that's when I decided, you know what, for the safety of my fish keeping hobby, I'm putting it down here in the basement, because I know if that ever sprung a leak and freaking went all over the place, she would say everything down here is gone. And then I'd have to get in a big fight with her and divorce her and just take the house and keep my fish. Just kidding. But yeah, no, I really didn't want that headache. So yeah, I put it down here. And plus I have everything here in one little spot. The only thing I hate about that now is my puffer is so personable. I think he misses the attention of the people upstairs. So it's just whenever I'm down here, he gets my attention. Like right now, he's just staring at me. So I mean, like this at the glass.
And he's alone in the
yeah. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried to put other things in there. I've had guppies. Guppies were fine. He'll eat some of them here and there, but if you have enough of them in there, some will always survive. I tried putting swordfish in there, or not swordfish, swordtails. Those were good for a while, but then he'd always
be difficult.
Swordtails, I'd find pregnant females. I'm like, all right, just about ready to have babies, and all of a sudden, they're gone. Then I got bold. I had a angel fish that I bred out and raised, and it was probably, I don't know, like 3 inches long. I'm like, we'll put him in there. He's a little bigger of a fish. I think this will be fine. They were good for like a week. The angel fish would come up right to the puffer while I was eating his scraps, didn't do nothing to him. Then all of a sudden I came down here one day and the angel fish was gone.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Crazy. How big is
that? He's not monstrous. He's probably like 10, 11 inches long.
Okay. But that's pretty massive. I mean,
he's like fat too. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. I thought about with like the circumstances I have here, I could get some pea puffers, but then I read that you should feed them mostly live food, and I don't know, I've never kept them, but if that is true, maybe you can answer. That's super difficult to keep them, right?
I've had pea puffers. I've fed them a lot of frozen like bloodworms and frozen brine shrimp. That's pretty much predominantly what I fed them, except for snails that were in my tanks. But I kept them for quite a while that way.
You have to feed them daily frozen food?
Yeah, no. I mean, when they're babies and younger, sure. But when they get bigger, no. It's just like any other fish. You don't need to feed them every day if you don't want to. I feed most of my fish every day, not my puffer and Oscar or the axolotl, but all my other ones I do more because I'm trying to push for breeding. But I don't feed large amounts, so either I give small amounts just to feed. But I should probably cut back on some of that. That's why I'm having some snail explosions in some of my tanks as well. But Select Pet said, I bet you could teach the puffer to ring a bell by pulling a string that leads a bell outside the tank. Absolutely, I think he could. That thing, he is so smart. Like, I'll feed him. When he was younger, I had a little pipette, okay? And I would feed baby brine shrimp and bloodworms in there. He would come up and take the end of the bottle and suck it like a baby bottle and suck the stuff out of it for me.
Crazy. Wow.
Crazy.
Like a puppy.
Yeah, except the thing is he won't eat any pre-made food, only like frozen shrimp or snails from my tanks and stuff like that. He won't eat like pellets or anything like that. I've tried, so that's the only one downfall of him, but it's really not that expensive what I do. I only feed him like every 2 to 3 days, and I feed him like a piece of shrimp or two and some snails. I felt I was feeding him way too much in the beginning because he got really fat and he got kind of lethargic and didn't even want to come out and eat once in a while. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. So I started to cut down when I fed him, and he's slimmed down some and he's more active and everything now. So I knew that was the right decision. The Oscar too, he's been growing. So I feed him like a piece of shrimp like every few days, but then I give him like a few pellets here and there. He seems fine.
He's eating the pellets.
What's that?
So, and the Oscar is also eating the pellets, so you don't need to feed him live food all the time.
No, I don't give him live food at all. Only by accident when he was a little younger, and I tried putting some guppies in there to see if I could get him to get in there to eat some of the stuff off the bottom, and he munched them right away. He won't even let snails alive in there. I tried putting snails in there just to try to help clean up with algae, and he eats them right away like M&Ms, like my puffer, like I do. So.
Yeah, I knew that puffers were able to do that with their little beaks, but I didn't know that Oscars were able to do that. Crazy.
I think they're just ferocious and just want to eat whatever.
Crazy.
I've got this pellet food for the axolotl. It's like a softer food, and the Oscar obviously eats it. I tried putting it in with the puffer to see if he would eat it. Yeah, he didn't want any part of it.
What do you do when you go on vacation, let's say for 2-3 weeks? You cannot use automatic fish feeders, right?
I've never been on vacation for 2-3 weeks, so I think.
Okay.
But I mean, even if I went for a week, let's say, I think my fish would be fine. I think if you feed them a little heavier before you leave, and if it's like a week or something, most of those fish are going to be fine. If we're going 2 weeks, I do have a fish. I have one automatic fish feeder that I got, but I had used it just for fry, but I haven't really used it in a while because I'm here. I like to feed them myself.
Yeah. I'm using one automatic fish feeder for the larger tank, and for the smaller tank, I just chop off a small carrot and put it in there. And when I'm back from vacation, 1 week, 2 weeks, the whole carrot is gone. I just put it in there raw, and the fish eat it. They eat lots and lots of veggies. I also post a lot of shorts about this, and they really don't eat fruits that much, but I don't really like fruit. So it takes them super long to eat fruit, but veggies, they love, what is it called? A cucumber, for instance, or tomatoes. They love eating that. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but also the snails, they go crazy for any kind of vegetable, and it's super cheap compared to flakes or something.
Sure, I would use cucumbers to feed my plecos I had and stuff like that too. Some years ago when I used to keep plecos, I don't keep them anymore because they always wind up screwing with my plants and the substrate, and it annoys me.
Really? Even the small ones,
yeah, or even if I had some swords, they'd start eating on them. I had this pink flamingo sword, and I was like, oh yeah, put it in my tank, and I kept seeing this stupid pleco on there, freaking mount on it, and just destroyed it. I'm like, okay, I'm done with you guys now.
I want to get into plecos again as well, but I want to get us like a very small kind of breed. The smallest ones in Germany, they get like 4 inches, 5 inches. But I've seen some smaller varieties that are also quite colorful and that look like plecos. I'm not even sure if they are plecos, like the L type of catfish. I think they are plecos.
Yeah.
And they just look beautiful, but then you look at the price tag, like 150, 200 euros, and then
yeah, there's just some expensive plecos. That's crazy to me. I mean, there's some of them that look really cool, don't get me wrong, but it's a fish a lot of the times you're not going to see that much that kind of hides and, you know.
True. But I also was successful breeding those like 10 years ago, I think, 12 years ago, but also by accident. You just need to give them like a small cave, and then they can basically protect the cave and breed there. But then you have like they really breed heavily if you are successful, and then you have the whole tank filled with plecos. But then they start to eat each other, I think, also at one point, and then in the end you have like 3 grown-ups again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I bred the albino bristlenose not by trying. I got a bunch of them from a buddy, and he was closing down his fish room and gave them to me. And yeah, before I knew it, there were just babies everywhere. That's why I wound up throwing them in every tank. And I was just like, all right, okay. I'm over plecos now. They're fine when they're smaller because they eat a lot of algae. But once they get bigger, it's just kind of like there.
Yeah. And I heard that they are also like an invasive species in the US, and I think in Florida.
I think that's the common pleco. That's the one that gets big. The bristlenoses stay more, 4 feet, 5 inches, something like that. But yeah, those common plecos are crazy. You see some of those that are like out of water and completely dried up. They're still alive. It's like you rehydrate them and wet them, and they're back to life again.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. But all right. Well, we're about at that hour mark, so I think we'll start to wrap it up a little bit here. It's been fun having you on, Edgar. Definitely, if you're not subscribed to Edgar's channel, get over there and hit the subscribe button. I have I do believe I put the link for your channel in the description of this live stream, so easy access to get over there and do that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, like you said, I really enjoyed talking to you. It's been fun. It's been get to know you, and definitely look to do a little more of a deep dive into some more of your videos too. I suggest other people do it as well. Yeah,
cool. But thanks so much. Yeah, maybe we can do it again in half a year or something.
Absolutely. Like I said, these live streams, I came back to the live streams just because I kind of missed them a little bit, but I don't want to do them every week like I was. So like next week I have Jeff Kane on my live stream. So that should be fun because he's from the state of Wisconsin here where I am. So and then I'm open until October sometime, and then I'll come back probably for a couple in October, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun hobby. Absolutely love being able to chit chat with people like you and learn more about you, and hopefully other people out there that didn't know learn more about you as well and subscribe to your channel, and have some great fun together. So,
cool. Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and enjoy your Sunday.
All right, you too. Thank you. Thanks everyone for stopping by. We'll see you again next week with Jeff Kane.
Bye-bye.